Okay, guys, I've got to be honest. I thought I would like Power League. Hello, fellow brawlers. I'm KairosTime, and it is time to brawl. It's also time for my 100% honest review of the most recent update. Now, before we get started, based off of the title of this video, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking that I dislike this update or Power League. I want you to know right from the beginning of this video that that is not the case, okay? I thought that I would like this update a lot. Power League is awesome. And I think it's a fantastic addition to the game. In fact, there are so many things that Supercell did right with Power League, and they could have messed it up, but they didn't. And that's why I say I do like Power League. In fact, a lot. However, it is clear that there are some issues with Power League and that those issues need to be addressed, okay? And I have a lot of ideas on how to improve the mode overall, and I think that you guys will voice a lot of the same frustrations that I've had with Power League. So let's start off by talking about everything about Power League, and then we'll cover everything else in this update. And at the end of the video, I'm going to rate this update from a scale from 1 being the worst update to 10 being the best. And first, I just wanted to give a big thank you to OnePlus for sponsoring my channel. They've recently released the OnePlus 9, and although I do not have one myself, it looks super awesome and I can't wait to get it in my hands. Now you guys can click the link in the description below of any of my videos to find out some more information. Okay, let's talk about the first major issue with Power League. I think you can all agree with me that people just leaving during or after the pick and ban phase is just, oh, it's so frustrating. Thankfully, Supercell has already addressed this by saying that they're monitoring players who are doing this, and depending on the severity of people leaving and how frequently they're doing that, then people are going to get banned, okay? And not just from Power League, but from the game. And I think this is a really great step in the right direction. There's nothing more frustrating than knowing that your team picked much better brawlers than the enemy team and having to start over and lose that advantage because you're like, hey, I was about to just win some sweet points and they just left, and seriously, nothing's happening. Or even if it does, even if they do get banned, it is really frustrating. In fact, it'd be kind of nice if, you know, the enemy leaves Supercell, like we get a little bit of boost to our score, our points, right? Like Supercell, yeah, I'd be fine with that. I don't think anybody here would not be fine with that. But this is just one small part of a much larger issue that I feel like still really needs to be addressed. I'm talking about it, guys. Toxic players ruining the game for others. Now, I have a long list of behaviors that I've experienced that makes this game frustrating to play, okay? I'm sure that many of you have made a stupid mistake while you're playing Brawl Stars. Well, if you're like me, it happens, okay? Right? No big deal, it happens. But when you have a teammate that just starts spamming angry emotes at you and attacks you rather than trying to make up for that mistake, it's like, dude, I know I made a mistake. Maybe if we could work together, we could still win. But no, he's just like, I'm just so angry at you because you're an imperfect person like everybody on this planet. I get it. People get frustrated when their teammates make mistakes when they're playing really well. That really does make a lot of sense. But harassing others is not going to make anybody feel any better about the loss, okay? Now, another thing that's really frustrating is the enemy team BMing you when it's clear that they're going to win. I mean, and I'm not talking about like a quick emote being like, or even just a quick spin to celebrate with their teammates that they're winning, right? I'm talking about people that are like rapidly spinning, going out of their way to rub it in your face. Like, oh man, has this never happened to you guys? Am I the only one getting BM'd? It's also really frustrating when you have a teammate that just gives up in the middle of a match, whether maybe they've just given up, or maybe they have a poor connection and are lagging, whatever. We've all experienced this before, and it is even worse in Power League because you play multiple matches together. Power League is the best 2 out of 3. I've won many matches after losing the first, and I've also lost after winning the first match. But still, people will just give up after that first match, and that's just plain unsportsmanlike behavior, right? I'm not a fan of a small minority ruining the game for others because they're really toxic. And I'm not saying Supercell is, right? Like, I don't think Supercell wants toxic players to ruin the game for the majority of their players. It doesn't make sense. But whenever they're doing an update, they kind of have to weigh the pros and cons of every individual choice. Like, should we focus on toxic players right now, or should we focus on the new content, this map maker or Power League? What should we do first? If you ask me, It's about time that they start addressing this, because Power League just magnifies all the toxic behavior that has been in the game that you could mostly just ignore because you would just finish a match and just leave. And now with Power League in the game, I really think it's time for Supercell to really focus on this. And the reason why I think that Supercell should really focus on it now, and that it would be worth their time to do so, is because of negativity bias. This is a concept where the negative experiences that you have in your life have far outweighed the positive experiences. So people having negative experiences in Power League is really going to make it frustrating, going to make them not enjoy the game so much. And well, it's time. It's time, Supercell. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about my suggestion for improving toxic behavior, but not just that, but also rewarding sportsmanlike conduct. And then we'll talk about the second issue that I have with Power League, and that I think a lot of you guys would agree with, and that's a lack of communication options. At the end of the match, I would like 2 new options for me to be able to rate teammates or enemies, right? First of all, I'd like to be able to report teammates or enemies for various behaviors. Some of these behaviors would be punishable behaviors, like the player gave up or disconnected mid-battle or did some sort of a toxic spin on me, right? Some other behaviors would be used to weed out reports that aren't serious, like the player played poorly or the player picked a bad brawler, right? Like, I know that a big reason why Supercell has not done something like this in the past is because it would take too much manpower to go through all of these reports like this. I understand that. Honestly, I don't even think they have to go through the reports. First of all, if someone is truly being toxic, like if they just have like a bad experience one time, you don't want to ban them for that one experience, right? But if they are a truly toxic player, they're going to get a significantly high amount of reports when compared to everybody else. People who are getting more reported more often than others would automatically get some sort of a soft punishment, like temporary bans from Power League or even from the game, or maybe even just nerfed rewards from Power League or the rest of the game. But then people who consistently get punishments could eventually be permanently banned from the game, and maybe that would take a manual review from somebody who works at Supercell. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. That's kind of their decision to make. Honestly though, if I send a report on some player and I never know what happens to them, maybe they don't even get banned, I still feel like this would be beneficial for me, because I'm going to feel better being able to report somebody for being toxic, not necessarily because I need to feel like I need to seek revenge for hurting my feelings or anything like that, right? But because I want to do my part in removing toxic players from the game for the sake of younger players who might not have as much experience playing competitive games like I do. Like, honestly, the Brawl Stars community is pretty awesome in comparison to a lot of the games that I've played. There are some toxic communities out there. And the second thing I would like to be able to do is at the end of the match, be able to award teammates or enemies for sportsmanlike conduct. Now, I've seen something like this in other games, and I'd honestly love it if Supercell put some sort of an honor system in place where you could reach different honor rankings depending on how you interact with other random players. Okay, it doesn't have to be crazy complex, although Supercell could if they wanted it to be. The idea is that at the end of the match, you could award a player a medal for being enjoyable to play with, whether they were on your team or not. The more a player receives medals, the higher they would climb in honor ranking, and if they got reported for toxic behavior by multiple players in a match, then their honor rating would decrease. At the end of the season, players would be rewarded depending on their honor medal ranking, okay? Now, honestly, I don't think the reward would have to be very big. They could just go with some token doublers, or maybe even just some bonus power points, right? Or Supercell could even go the route of not doing any rewards at all and just giving people a ranking. I would personally strive for a high honor rating just because it was there, not necessarily because there were any rewards there. I firmly believe that people generally want to be good people and they want to be perceived as being good. And I think that that's enough. I really do. I could be wrong. Either way, an honor system alongside a report system would help Supercell find individuals who are doing things that are really difficult to prove as toxicity, right? Like Supercell can track players who disconnect mid-match or after a loss, but I don't think that they have a way to find players who are purposefully throwing a match by like spinning in the corner without disconnecting. Those people. I would really like to see them get banned. I'd really like to know what your guys' thoughts are on this, because like I said, Supercell kind of has to pick and choose what they work on. And if you had to choose between Supercell dedicating their resources toward adding some sort of an honor or ban system into the game or new content, what would you pick? Like I said, the Brawl Stars community honestly is not very toxic. And what I would hate to have happen is for toxicity to start creeping up and for Supercell to not have something proactively put in place to prevent that from happening. Now, there's also some arguments to be said that maybe putting something like this in place would cause more toxicity. I understand that argument, and Supercell knows a lot more about community stuff like that than I do, so I'm not going to pretend to know that. So with that said, I just hope that they're considering all of this and keeping things in mind, and that they are recognizing the fact that Power League is creating an opportunity for more toxic behavior to really, well, just ruin it for everybody else. Okay, now the next major issue with Power League that I would like to address is a lack of communication options during the pick and ban phase. I think this is a clear issue that I would not be surprised if Supercell were to fix, right? Like, we need to be able to suggest brawlers to others, whether it's for them to ban or for brawlers for them to play. Like, I once got a bounty match where our team had second and third pick. It was like perfect. And one of my teammates was rapidly switching between Nani and Bo, being like, dude, this other player, please, Nani or Bo, either one, I'll play the opposite one. It doesn't matter. You pick whichever of those two you feel more comfortable with, because Nani and Bo together in bounty is incredibly OP, right? Well, the other person ended up going with Crow. He went with Crow, which is a terrible choice on the map that we were playing. He's pretty much a terrible choice on all of the competitive modes right now. And with that said, maybe the teammate was an amazing Crow. He wasn't. We lost terribly, but we didn't know that at the time. Maybe he was amazing. And I do think it is important for players to be able to pick brawlers that they are confident with. And if I were to suggest to him, like, play Nani, and he still decided to go with Crow, well, I can at least live with that because I'm able to communicate with him that he should play Nani or Bo. I mean, honestly, I probably still would have been upset about him playing Crow, but you guys get the idea. Now, while we're on the topic of communicating with teammates, I'd also love to just be able to privately use pins during the ban and pick phase. So if a teammate picks a brawler that I like agree with, I'm like, dude, yeah, thumbs up. Now, I can also see the opposite where people are like, no, dude, thumbs down. And then people are upset and you're already creating a toxic situation before the actual gameplay has even started. But, you know, it's just an idea. Then again, that's where the honor system would come into play. Ha! Oh man, we're fixing all sorts of issues in this video. Okay, something else I would like to see addressed is the fact that we cannot easily measure our goals in Power League because we don't know how many matches it takes for us to win before we're going to reach the next ranking. At least in the trophy road, we can figure out how many wins we have to get in order for us to climb to the next goal or to the next marker or whatever. I understand that Supercell wants to keep it vague because the amount of progress changes depending on the ranks of your opponents. But without any actual numbers, we can't set those measurable goals, and that's frustrating, at least for me. And I do have a suggestion on how to improve this, but first I wanted to mention a second issue because my solution would actually fix both of these. The second issue is the fact that I really do not like the fact that I don't know the ranks of my teammates or my opponents until after the match is over when I'm playing in the solo queue. If I'm going to be matched up against an enemy team that has a higher rank than me, I want to know beforehand so I can really focus, you know, get in that gamer moment, bring my phone a little bit closer to me and be like, okay, it's time to really up my game. This is my opportunity to gain a lot of points, right? Additionally, if I have a teammate on my team that's 2 or maybe even 3 ranks below me, I want to know that too. There are different tactics to use if you know that you can trust your teammate versus if you cannot trust your teammate. If we don't know what rank our teammates are, we can't do that. We can't choose. We can't adapt to that. And we need to be able to adapt to that. Which brings me to the solution for both of these two problems. During the pick and ban phase, I would like to be able to see the rankings of everyone on both teams. And I would also like to be able to see how many points I would gain as a win, as well as how many points I would lose with a loss. That way I can go into the match with those expectations of like, okay, here's my goal. I want to win so I can reach this goal. And you guys get the idea. Ideally, there would also be a rank progress bar that would show how many points are needed to reach the next rank. I want to know if my next win is going to get me to that point or not. Now, I understand why Supercell didn't do this, especially for the first Power League season. This season is unlike any other Power League season we will ever have because everybody is starting at the bottom or close to the bottom. And I think they have an idea of how they want players to be distributed along the leagues after several months. They probably want to have a bell curve with about 50% of the players below or around Diamond 1, and then the top 500 players ending the season in like the final Masters League. That's just my own personal idea. I don't actually know that, but by not showing us the scores, then they would be able to adjust how much players get for wins and losses to be able to get to that point sooner rather than later, or maybe even just so that they can adapt as they go along. And I don't know if this is actually their plan for sure, but keeping progress private allows them to make those changes without creating the drama within the community of being like, hey, I used to get this many points for a win and now I'm getting this many. Or, hey, why did I lose so many points when I normally only lose this amount of points? Like, we think that we want to know everything, and we do. We want to know everything, but sometimes not knowing everything just makes things a little bit easier on us, okay? And I 100% get it if that is what they're doing. I just hope that in the future we will be able to see these rankings and points for wins and losses so that we can play accordingly and set measurable goals. Now, another issue that comes with Power League is actually the fact that it is more accessible to more players than Power Play was. Now, that sounds like a good thing, but with Power Play, you could only play brawlers that were at least level 10. They had to have at least 1 star power. Now, anyone over 4,500 trophies can play Power League, which means that there are a ton of people who have maxed out brawlers that are now getting matched with players that have under-leveled brawlers for their rank. Now, I've been in a league where that really hasn't been a big issue for me. However, I have seen a lot of people complaining about this, which is why I wanted to bring this up. There are a couple of different ways that Supercell could fix this concern. One option is to make it so that people can only play brawlers that are level 10. Now, because 2 brawlers get banned and 6 unique brawlers are played each Power League match, this means that players would have to have at least 8 level 10 brawlers in order to play a match. And I don't think that's the best option because it would disqualify a large majority of players from being able to participate in Power League, which Power League is a great fun mode. We want them playing Power League because it's going to get them interested in the game, keep them dedicated to continue playing, and I think that they should be able to experience that. Now, another suggestion I've seen people make is to make it so that there are brawler level caps at certain leagues. As an example, maybe after Diamond 1, only level 10 brawlers could be played. I also don't think that this is the best option because the rank that people consider to be good is going to continually move over time, and setting a limit like that now might make sense for the moment, but probably won't later. Now, I've also considered the idea that only brawlers with a gadget can be played in Power League. I do like this idea, but it's still the point where players would have to have 8 brawlers that have at least 1 gadget, and I personally think that's a little too far in progression. I want other players to be able, or new players to be able to play and get into this as soon as possible, and I think the 4,500 trophy mark makes a lot of sense. I just ran some quick numbers on that. Let's say you have a new player that just barely jumped in the game and they win 10 trophies every single match and they don't lose a single time. That would be 450 matches, which comes out to about 15 hours of gameplay. And I mean, you should be able to play Power League after you've put 15 hours into Brawl Stars, even if you don't have high leveled characters. By the way, that's with all wins, 0 losses. So yeah, 4,500 trophies is very reasonable. Honestly, I think that this is actually an issue that will fix itself over time as people reach the right league for their skill. And what I mean by that is that players with more maxed out brawlers will climb just a bit easier than players that don't have as many level 10s to choose from, but there will still be plenty of players without max brawlers that will still be able to outskill enemies that have star powers for each of their brawlers. And then there are players who aren't maxed out and can't outskill maxed out players. They will find themselves eventually in a league with other players like them. Now, I've seen people be frustrated about a lot of things, and just like those things, this I think will be fixed over time, like I said. However, it would be super fun if friendly rules applied to Power League, meaning that as long as you own a brawler, you can play that brawler with either of their star powers, either of their gadgets. They would be maxed out level 10, even if you don't have that brawler maxed out. And I say this as somebody who is maxed out. I have poured lots of money into Brawl Stars, and I want friendly rules to apply. I honestly don't want Power League to be about anything other than skill. I already have the ladder for that, right? Like my Stu, he's already maxed out, and most people don't have him maxed out. So you guys get where I'm coming from. Okay, now this is less important than the other stuff that I've mentioned, but I was honestly kind of disappointed with the player icon rewards that we're getting for this first season of Power League. I'm not saying I don't like the icons. In fact, I think it's really awesome that we are getting some more icons, right? That's awesome. I just thought that there was going to be more than just the silver and gold player icons. Okay, when I was watching Brawl Talk, I thought that we were going to get a different icon depending on how high we climbed for the season. If we only reached silver, we would get a silver icon with the Colonel Ruffs logo. But if we push really, really hard and we made it all the way to legendary or even masters, then we would get a super special masters pin with the Colonel Ruffs logo on it. it. Then obviously the logo would change with each season. In other words, we would then be able to go through our player icons, look at them all, and we would have a permanent record and also permanent bragging rights of how high we climbed in Power League for every season, because we would collect a new player pin for that representing league that we reached each season. I think you can see why I was a little bit disappointed, because that's what I thought was going to happen, and that would be so awesome. So I really hope that Supercell considers this for the future. Okay, so I've talked a lot about all of the ways that I want Power League to be improved for the future, and I told you at the beginning of this video, yes, I thought I would like Power League, and I do. I really do, okay? Let's talk about all the reasons why I love Power League. I have seen ranked league modes kind of like this, the same rough idea in a lot of other games, and like I said, Supercell really could have messed this up, okay? Supercell did such a great job at avoiding some of the mistakes that I have seen in other games, okay? What's the meme? I'm really glad I grew up with Power Play, but dang, Power League is better. I really love, so much, that there is a separate queue for solo and teams. Oh man, and even more fantastic, you're not gonna miss any rewards if you only play in one of them. Players that want to play with other players get to do so without missing the rewards of playing solo, and vice versa. Oh, it's so good. Love it. Genius. Thank you, Supercell. They really did it very well, and honestly, this is the change that made Brawl Stars a lot more fun than it was before for me, okay? Now, this video is all about honesty, and honestly, I wouldn't say that Brawl Stars was becoming stale for me. I'm not getting bored of the game, but I definitely did not feel the desire to try and become better at the game. I haven't wanted to improve my skills. I've pretty much just been like stagnant when it comes to trophies, at least since the trophy reset rework, but I haven't really felt the need to push trophies very hard. I've pretty much just been playing my quests, and if a brawler gets pushed into the next rank, then okay, cool, and if they tilt, then, well, okay, I don't let them tilt. I always bring them back up to where they have been, but being dropped right into Gold 2 at the start of Power League made me really quickly remember the thrill of playing with and against other skilled players. I tilted hard, like at the start. I was like, oh man, I've got to get better at this game. And that was fun. I enjoyed that. By the way, I've since untilted and have progressed even further, so. Also, I've mentioned this in a previous video, but I have been very interested and excited about the theories behind creating strong team comps, and there is finally a reason to actually understand that and use it. Oh man, it's so fun. The ban and the draft portion of it, really, I just love it. I love all the strategies that go behind it. It's really rewarded my understanding of how all the brawlers work together, and it has made me want to learn more about it as well, and that's been really cool. Honestly, I think that I'm probably going to lose all interest in trophy pushing other than to complete brawler quests, and all of my spare time is going to be put into Power League because I don't have to push every single brawler throughout the season. It's so nice. And I also forgot Smuggler Penny. Cool skin. I mean, there are cooler skins in the game, but like, I really love the fact that Supercell is adding an exclusive skin for each Power League season. That means that every 10 weeks, we'll get a new skin that will never, ever be unlockable again unless you actually do it. By the way, you don't have to actually purchase her during the season. Once you do qualify to unlock her, then she will become permanently unlockable in your rotation of skins that will show up in the shop. I think that's really awesome. Okay, this video is already long and I've extensively talked about Power League. I just wanted to quickly talk about two other major things that we got in this update. First of all, the newest brawler, Stu. Stu is really awesome. I'm gonna be honest, because that's what this video is all about. I really did not like his voice lines at the start, but it was like 3 minutes and then I was like, okay, this is so cool, right? It's so hilarious thinking about him being so busted and broken from all of his previous crashes that he can't even get through a single sentence without stuttering. Obviously, something's been damaged along the process. And I think my all-time favorite is when he talks about being sponsored by Colt Crunch. And maybe it's just because I'm a YouTuber, but I think that's hilarious. He's like, this moment is brought to you by Colt Crunch. It's just really fun. And also, Stu is really fun to play. I think that he's probably slightly too strong, and I think there's a good chance he'll be getting nerfed in the next update. But I think that his ability is definitely capped behind high skill, and so I actually think the Supercell will be really easy to balance him out, and maybe they won't even do any major nerfs or anything like that, just some small tweaks. Final thing I want to talk about before we rate this update is a piece of content we haven't even been able to try out yet, at least at the time of me recording this video. I'm talking about Hot Zone and Siege Map Maker, okay? Even though I joke about Map Maker being a mistake, I honestly love it. It's really fun. With that said though, the same repeated troll maps keep on winning, which is kind of getting stale, and that's exactly why I'm looking forward to seeing more troll maps, but now in Hot Zone and Siege, right? I recorded some videos with Lex and OJ where we just all made some troll maps and played it, and Siege especially was a lot of fun to play. Okay, now that we've covered every big change this update, it's time for me to rate this update from 1 being the worst update to 10 being the best update, right? I'm gonna give this update a 9 out of 10. That's right, I told you that I thought I was gonna like this update, and there were issues, but I ended up really liking this update. Yes, like I said, there are issues with Power League that need to be addressed, and yes, there were a lot of bugs when it first released. I'm honestly fine with bugs because Supercell is really quick to patch them, and also Supercell is already taking action to ban players that are making the mode frustrating to play. With that said, this update did come pretty quickly since the previous update. I wasn't expecting such a big feature, and Power League is a very big feature, and it's made the game much more engaging than before, at least it has for me, okay? Just in the past 6 months, we've gotten the map maker, which is fun for all players, but really caters to like the casual players and like the creative players. And now we have Power League, which once again is fun for all players, over 4,500 trophies, but really caters to more hardcore competitive players. It really feels like the game is coming together as having really like something for everyone. Well, almost, okay? They still need to work to make the game a little bit more exciting and fun for people that are very social and give more meaning to clubs. But this update did put a massive check off the list of major things that I've wanted to see in Brawl Stars this year. Plus, they added 2 new modes to the map maker on top of this already big update. Not to mention a super cool new brawler, several skins I didn't even talk about in this video, and many other improvements, okay? This update is more proof that the Brawl Stars developer team is continuing to provide innovative, engaging content with a big emphasis on creating a fun game that people will play for years. That's their whole goal, and Brawl Stars is knocking it out of the park. But I want to know what you guys think about this update. Maybe you don't like Power League and you wish it didn't replace Power Play. Maybe you really liked Power Play. Maybe you wish the Supercell would have added something different in this update. So let me know how you would rate it, and feel free to share your other thoughts in the section below. Don't forget to subscribe for more quality Brawl Stars content, and if you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you're probably going to like one of these 2 videos right there as well, okay? Make sure you use code Kairos in the Brawl Stars shop. And for now, guys, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in Brawl Stars.